So this is interview number 4, uh, contractor management in facilities and construction management, uh, with Paul, a civil engineer. And Paul, how did you get into civil engineering?
I studied civil engineering at an engineering college in the United States about 35 years ago, and that was my major. I knew a little bit about engineering, but like a lot of 18 or 19-year-olds, you just kind of make a decision and you start moving with it, and that becomes your life.
So when you started working in the field after schooling, uh, what was it employers were looking for to bring you on as a civil engineer?
So, in the United States, engineering is a very regulated profession, almost like medicine, and that engineers have to have professional licensure. And so, you graduate from an engineering college. The engineering schools in the United States are accredited through ABET, the American Board of Engineering and Technology. And so, you have to go to an accredited university and you have to graduate, which is difficult. The degrees are typically structured for 4 years, but many students take 5 to 6 years, sometimes because they're in cooperative education programs, or just sometimes because they don't take full loads every semester because it's just so rigorous. And after that, you have to take two national exams, one called the Fundamentals of Engineering, and you pass that, and then typically 4 to 5 years later, you're allowed to take the professional engineering exam, which is a national exam and it's graded. Both of those are pretty much all-day tests. And once you pass those, you get your professional license. You have to apply and demonstrate sufficient expertise and experience. And then that qualifies you to work as a professional engineer in the U.S.
And is it construction companies that aim to hire civil engineers who've gotten all these credentials and
Yeah,
knocked
so
out this work?
civil engineering is arguably the most broad of all engineering professions. It's the oldest engineering profession, as everyone knows. The pyramids, the aqueducts, the Roman roads. Civil engineering is as old as mankind is. And people have been doing engineering ever since the beginning of time. It's inherent in the nature of humans to want to build things, and they've been building things forever. And so many civil engineers do work in the construction field, um, but not everybody. Civil engineers work in design, management, planning, and construction. Um, and so it just depends. There's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of civil engineers in the U.S. building highways, roads, hospitals, airports, infrastructure. Some civil engineers are the builders and some are the designers.
So when you identified your focus after schooling and working for a while, what was your focus, and did you ever have to hire any contractors after you had focused on a specific type of civil engineering?
Yeah, so I've worked in about, I'm a little bit different than most people. I've worked in so many different fields within civil engineering. I probably have one of the most diverse backgrounds in terms of jobs that I've done. So within civil engineering, there's probably 7 or 8 main subdivisions of civil engineering: geotechnical, hydraulics and hydrology, structural, transportation and roads, airports, fluid mechanics, which is really part of hydraulics. Um, these are all parts of civil engineering, including construction engineering, and also working for the government in municipal, state, or federal government. I've worked in all 3 levels of government as well, and also been in the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers.
So when you were working with the government, what type of standard and credential standard was there when you had to hire contractors and establish a certain level of quality with the people you hired? What was the standard
So
normally?
it varies. If you work in state or local government in the U.S., they have their own contracting requirements, but there are codes, there are building codes that are used um, throughout the U.S. and through internationally. The International Building Code is one. that people have to follow. And then in the federal government, you have to follow the Code of Federal Regulations and the FAR, the Federal Acquisition Regulations that govern how you hire contractors. Right now, I am the deputy director of an organization that has about $2.5 billion of projects, and we build healthcare facilities. And we have our own internal regulations, codes, architectural and engineering design standards, and we also adhere to a lot of national codes and standards. There's numerous organizations that we have to adhere to.
So with all the organizations that you've worked for, has there ever been any substantial problems that you've had to overcome with contractors you've hired?
It's very common that people have problems with contractors, and there's so many things that can go wrong. And all of these things have gone wrong at some time, at some place, in some project, somewhere. From poor design to weather problems to constructability issues to cost overruns to supply chain disruption to labor problems. Most recently for the entire world is the COVID crisis for the last year and a half. We actually had a hospital that we're building that had to be shut down because the COVID got the COVID cases were so numerous in the area, the local government authorities had to shut the contractors down. Well, as you know, contractors say time is money. So that's just one example of a major event that's disrupted construction, not just in the US, but worldwide.
So we're at about 7 minutes with just 3 minutes remaining. Do you have any advice you would give to people who have to hire contractors for construction jobs, for design jobs, so that they can better avoid problems?
Well, there's numerous things that you can do. Governmental agencies tend to be what they call prescriptive in how they hire construction. That is, they have very thick books and guides and requirements that the contractors have to adhere to. They're drafted by engineers and attorneys. So if you tend to have problems, you want to be more prescriptive. If you have contractors or construction companies that you can trust, that you have a relationship with, maybe you can be less prescriptive because you can trust those people. One of the things that's going on right now in the US is the move towards design build. Traditionally, construction in the US has been what they call design bid build, where you hire an architect or an architectural engineering firm. They produce plans and specifications, it's bid out, and a separate entity, a construction company, a contractor, then builds the project. But in the US right now, about 40% of projects, non-residential construction, is being done in this new paradigm called design build, where you hire a single entity that does the design and the construction itself. It ostensibly gives the owner a better product at a faster pace for less money, and has a lot of inherent cost savings. And it has built within it what we call value engineering, where you're always looking to economize and to come up with a better solution, and today also a sustainable green solution.
So do you think design build is something that's taken on by other countries, or do you think it's just gained traction in the States?
I think it's happening worldwide. It's been around, but it's growing in popularity because of the efficiency, and also it cuts the delivery time for a project down maybe a third, and often can reduce the cost. But you have to have a really good design build firm that fully understands the owner's intent. And that's given birth to a new role in construction, which is the owner's representative, who stands in there and advocates for the owner to kind of, quote, keep the design builder honest.
Huh. Well, we're coming up on the 10-minute mark. Thank you so much for doing this interview
You're
with
welcome.
me, and I really appreciate it. Cheers.